Welcome to Point to Rise, your podcast that gives you permission to dream big, take messy action, and turn your talent into profit while turning your back on perfection. My name is Susanne, high performance and mindset coach, former international ballerina, profitable entrepreneur, and founder of Point to Rise, a movement designed to empower dancers. It is my mission to use my own story as an inspiration for today's generation of dancers. And now sit back, stretch, warm up, or sip your coffee and love learning how much it matters to point at yourself first to rise to all that you are capable of. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Point to Rise podcast. My name is Susanne and I am your host today. Thank you so much for tuning in. On today's episode on Susanne Talks, I want to talk to you about perfectionism. Well, so here's the deal. I have talked about perfectionism on this platform numerous times, but I never shared my own experiences with it and my own deeply own perspective that I have won over the past couple months. It is a little bit different or newer or riper for me. And I just have a little bit more clarity that I want to offer to you. And I think it could actually help you to step out of that perfection train. So when we're looking at perfection and when we're looking at dance and what is really, maybe it has never been asked of us to be perfect per se, but the ask subconsciously was always to be perfect, to be not the very best that you can be, but to be perfect, to be flawless. Otherwise, you're not worth anything. Otherwise, you won't make it to the top. That was the belief, or that's what's, basically being passed down from generation to generation, that kind of a belief. And we have given into that belief because it seemed easy. It seemed, well, yeah, everybody on stage needs to be perfect. Otherwise, the public won't like us. Otherwise, people won't come and see the show. And that is not where we are at anymore nowadays. Putting on a performance is not about being perfect. Showing up on social media is not being about perfect. Arts are not being about perfect. And that is, to be quite honest, all of this is in our hands to change that. And when I look at my way of how I developed and how all of these things actually came up for me, I never really started something or saw it to the end because I always thought it had to be perfect, and if it wasn't perfect, it would not work. And I was shutting and cutting myself off from the ability to make mistakes and to learn. So with you believing that you cannot deliver anything but perfect will actually have you stuck somewhere where you're not allowed to make mistakes, somewhere where you're not allowed to learn. And the only way to evolve, the only way to learn is by making mistakes. And if you're not allowing yourself to make those mistakes, you will always be stuck in a certain mindset, at a certain point. You will not be willing to learn new skill sets. Everything in your body will shut down when you want to learn something new. You will come up with excuses when you're being pushed outside of your perfection zone to not go there and learn something new, or surround yourself with new people, or look at your life from a different perspective. So how did that look like in my life? And where do I still struggle with that? So when I look at it, I think procrastination was 100% something that really deeply came into my life, and it almost froze me from stepping forward, stepping outside of my comfort zone, because I was so against making mistakes. I have learned over the past, I don't know, 30, 45 years that making mistakes means that I am unworthy, and that being perfect is the only way to really be loved. Now, take that in a relationship with children, take that in a business relationship. There is no way that anything like that would ever be perfect. And yet, I was always striving. I was always striving for that perfectionism. And that led me no chance but to people please, to completely forget who I was and who I wanted to be, to reserve, to burn out, and then be completely crushed down. And with that kind of perfectionism, or thriving, thinking that that is the only way of gaining love and attention, I actually cut myself off from making mistakes again, cut myself off of learning. And I think this learning piece for me is so important, because the time I spend on procrastinating to think, is this good enough to send out, or is this something that I am prepared enough for, instead of doing it and then going back, hey, this worked, this didn't work, I'll do this better next time, and seeing feedback as a gift. The need to be perfect in the studio will also translate into your life, your outside of the studio life. Believe me, it will show up, because you trained yourself to believe that no matter where or what or how, anything that you're doing has to be perfect, and it will inhibit your ability to learn, to make mistakes, and to evolve. So let's ask a different question. What would it look like not to, how can I say that? The need of being perfect when you're stepping back into the studio. Now, let's be honest, the companies over the past year may have not changed their vision, their mission, their outlook on life, their perception, what they're wanting. What if they're asking you more and more and more, perhaps because out of fear, to be perfect, or the show has to be perfect? When you are not in that space anymore, when you don't have that mindset anymore, like what kind of a pressure and stress are you actually putting yourself under when you're in that kind of energy again? Okay. Do I have really an answer what you can do 100% that fits all? No. I can give you some suggestions on what your options could be. Now, does that fit all? No. So that is for you to try on to see what works best for you, and to understand that there will always be different options, and what worked for you today may not work for you tomorrow, because you are a human being, you're evolving, you're growing, you are changing, and that is okay. So one example that I have that I would personally explore if I were you would be, how strong can you become in your mind to have the ask of being perfect not get to you? Meaning, what kind of personal development do you have to undergo yourself in order not to be receptive to this kind of fear energy that is being put back onto you? Okay, so that would be one thing. And that would be starting with like really exploring, how do you feel about being perfect? Like, what kind of emotions does it spark in you? Is it evoking any kind of fear or lack, or thinking, oh my goodness, I'm not good enough? Or what am I going to do if I'm not perfect? What if I don't fit in my costume? What if? Like, look at how your personal relationship with perfection is right now, and look at it with no judgment at all. There is no bad or good or not good enough in this scenario. Okay, learning can always be ugly and dirty and beautiful at the same time. So really give yourself the grace to look at it completely without any judgment. And then for me, another way of looking at the whole perfection thing and how I would navigate my way through the company at this point in my development, I actually couldn't be able to be around it anymore because it would not align with what I'm standing for. It would not align with where I want to go. It is not aligning with my goals, but my personal goals, who I want to be, how I want to be seen, and how I show up in the world. And for me, then I would look for a different place to have employment, to be quite honest. So now I'm not saying that that is you, that you have to do that. Just know that if that voice becomes louder and you feel more uncomfortable in these kind of scenarios, it truly means that it is time to move on. And that's okay. It's your life, it's your career. You get one career. And if you look at it from a perspective of, am I good enough for them? Then I can understand that kind of fear of not wanting to change and rather shrink yourself back to, I have to be perfect. But if you look at it, hey, what do they have to offer me? Is what and who they are actually aligning with who I am and who I want to be? Are they going to grow and help me and support my growth and me becoming the best artist, the best dancer that I can be? Then that would be a different story. Like if you feel comfortable in speaking up and voicing your opinion, even if it's around, what is being asked of you, then that is a different perspective to look at life, at your career, at everything you're doing. So I I feel that when I let go of, and it is a process still, I am not saying that I have mastered it every day. Oh gosh, no. But if you are looking at, is this going to help me grow? Is this good for me? Is this going to fill my cup versus am I going to be good enough? Am I going to be perfect? That will change your perception on perfection as well, and whether or not you have to strive for it, or if perfection is your end all be all. I hope you understand what I mean. So if you change your perception, if you change your perspective, then you may also attract other things in your life. Living in the complete and utter chase of perfectionism is not a sustainable way of running your life or your career. You will be burnt out to the point of no return. And yeah, don't waste your life like this. You don't have to. There are other ways of doing it. I am sending you so much love. Thank you for listening. If this is something that resonates with you, please share your latest, biggest, bestest takeaway on your IG and tag me. And I will make sure that I will tag you too. So much love to you. Take care. Till next time. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If this message resonates with you, please pass it on to someone who needs to hear this right now. And if you like what you've heard, your feedback will go a very long way. If you just take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review, that would mean the world to me. Till next time, point at yourself to rise to all that you are capable of.